Welcome back, everybody, to another deck profile here with Chris from TCG, the Saiyan Elites. Hope you guys are having a good day. Today, I'm going to be bringing you guys a deck profile for set 5, Super 17. One of my favorite leaders, and probably actually one of my favorite characters in Dragon Ball, both canon and non-canon. If you guys like this deck profile, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and let us know what you guys think of the deck profile and other decks you would like to see us work on in the future. So, with this leader, he's a green leader. He has the ability to burst 2, which will allow him to draw, and he can attack. Once you are at 4 life, you can restand 2 energy and then awaken, which then he becomes Evil Entwined, which is a very cool looking leader. He's 15k. When he has Sparking 5, which means you have 5 cards in the drop, this card gains critical. So you have basically critical for most of the game, and the way that the deck is set up is to fill up your drop area and kind of play out of your drop area as a second deck. So you're always going to have over 5 cards in there. And then it has an active main, which is kind of a cheeky ability. You don't really use it a lot, but it is if your opponent has more than 10 cards in their hand, they place cards in their hand in the drop until they have 9. So if they have 15 cards, you can activate this. They have to drop 6 cards, so on and so forth. So into the deck. So we run 3 Dr. Euro Evil Inventor. This is our outside of this card being a parallel foil, all 3 of them. This card allows you to search the top 3 cards for an android other than, actually I think it's just any android card that you have in the deck, add it to your hand and shuffle. This is just a way for you to fill up your hand. This card replaces itself. Those cards are really good to have in your deck. Allows you to search out a little bit and find the pieces that you need. You run 3 Android 17 Impending Crisis. This is the negate that came out of the expert deck. Very awesome negate. For 1 green energy, negates, then you pull a 4-drop android that has android in the name, not the special trait, but the name, from your deck into your drop area. It's good because you want to get some of those cards into your drop area so you can Union Absorb on top of them later. Let me organize these a little bit. One of the cards, probably one of the best cards in the deck, is going to be Android 15, Vicious Vendetta. This is your Self-Awakener. I want to see at least one of these in my hand on turn 1, and hopefully I draw another one on turn 2. If I see 2 of these in my hand, I'm going to hold both of them. So basically what this card does is you want to play this card defensively. You play a green energy or multicolor energy. Hopefully you have an energy standing to be able to do this, but what happens is you pay the 1 energy, you play this card out as a combo. If your leader is a green leader, you can play this card out in rest mode in your battle area, and the second auto kicks in, which you get to take 1 to 2 life from your life pool, add it to your hand, and restand a green energy. What's really nice is turn 2. This generally happens. It's happened to me a few times where I'll have 2 of these in my hand. My opponent will swing. I'll use this to combo, take 2 life, restand. They'll swing again. I'll play another one of these. Take 2 life, restand. What's nice is that this card does not have, you can't play this card for the duration of the turn effect, so you can just play out as many as you want. But I'll play 2 of them out, take my own life, get down to 4, and then I can just awaken next turn. But this is, if you're playing any sort of green android deck, you want to play this card, and play it at 4. Next card is going to be Analaza. This is our green-yellow check land. Yes, we are playing green-yellow, not green-blue. Just there for the energy exhaust negate, and you want to be able to play these all in your energy. Next card is Endless Malice Android 17. This is your main form of pressure early. This card has Burst 3, which this card gains 5k and crit. It's kind of similar to the 1-drop cards that you take a life and they gain 10k and crit or double strike. What's nice about this is you don't need to take life because we use Android 15 to take our life. And this helps us fill up our drop area, which we need to get about 10 cards in our drop area for this ability, for our deck to be really successful. So we run 2 of those. We run a 1 of Android 20, the Vile Creator. This leader allows us to, this is basically the green android version of Further Destruction Champa, or Hidden Potential, or Hidden Power E Supreme Kai. Basically, you give a card double strike. It has a 5k combo, but if you see in the text, you get an additional 5k combo and double strike. So very good. Next is the super combos. We run 2 Dr. Euros and 2 Android 18s. So we run the Android 18s because they are searchable by most of the searchers in our deck, and it gives us some hand destruction. And then this card being green yellow, we don't have any arrival in this deck, but it allows us to put a 4-drop into our drop area, any card, and the card that we really need to put in there, we need to put one that's an Android and one that's not an Android. Technically, it is an Android, but it does have Android in its name. You'll find out. But we need to put that card in our drop area as soon as possible. Seeing this is really good. I have run a 3-1 split before. Still thinking about doing that. But we'll see. We'll see. 2-2 seems to work out pretty nice right now. Run a 1 of Dr. Mew Weapon Surplus. I would run 4 of this card if I had it. This came out of the Draft Box 4, the infamous cheap Draft Box 4. What this card does, you burst 3, and you get to pick a 3-drop or more Android, green Android from your drop, add it to your hand, or a extra card, green extra card of 2 cost or less from your drop area. Generally, you're going to use this to pick up battle cards that you're going to need for maybe using a Union Orb in the future. We have our counterplays. We run 2 Hellfighter 17s and 3 Fujita the Cruels. You're running green, so you should run Fujita the Cruel. Card comes out for 2 energy. You KO a 4-drop, and then your opponent mills a card from their hand. And then this card actually is really cool. It has its weaknesses because it does not go through barrier, does not get around deflect, but there's still a ton of cards in the game that don't have barrier, that don't have deflect, to where this card would actually be used. So you play it out, and you get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and it negates its skills. Negates, not saying that they can't activate skills, but just negates skills for the duration of the turn. So it negates keyword skills other than barrier and deflect, but it negates dual attack, negates double strike, negates crit, all that stuff as long as they don't have barrier or deflect. And then when the card leaves the area, you actually, I think you can target deflect cards. Not that you would really need to, but when this card leaves the battle area as well, you get to activate this ability again. So basically, one of these counts as 2 counterplays in a sense, which is why I only run 2, because you don't really need 4, because you have this already. So we run those, and also you'll see a lot of our cards are going to be 3-drops from this deck, which comes into play later on. We run 2 Infernal Villainy Cells. This card we want to put into our drop area as soon as possible. And since the Android Abiding Crisis doesn't allow us to do that, Dr. Euro will. We can place this in the drop area, and then we're set to go for our Union Exorbs. But if you do combo with this card, it's always a good idea to try that. If you have it in your hand, just combo with it, you get to draw a card. So it replaces itself for 1 energy. We run 1 of Android 17 Titan Toppler, another 3K. Another 3-drop. This card comes out for free if your opponent has a big monster that has more energy cost than what they have in their energy area already. So if they have a 7-drop out and they only have 4 energy, this card comes out for free. You get to choose an opponent's battle card. It cannot activate skills for the duration of the turn, and if it's in rest mode, it cannot be switched to active mode during your opponent's main charge. So they don't get to switch it to active mode. So for the big part of the deck, we run 4 Hellfighter 17s. Evil Revive. These have barrier. These are the big card that we want to see in our hand, because this starts our Union Exorb chain. So with this card, you can activate Union Exorb, place 1 Android 17 from your hand or your drop underneath this card, and then you choose 1 Super 17 from your drop or your deck for cost and place on top of this card. If any of your Super 17s, which we run a total of 4 of, you do not want to see these cards in your hand. You want to place them in your drop, combo with them, get them out of your hand. We have 1 of the Super 17, the Infernal Machine. We have 3 of the Super 17 to Further Heights. The Further Heights is the main target that we want. I run 1 of these because it does come in handy. If your opponent has a very small hand and you're just kind of pressuring them down really early, maybe you just got a better, a few better starting hands than they did. Play this card out, you discard 2 cards, they have to drop 2 cards. And this card has double strike, and this card's negates cannot, this card's attacks cannot be negated. Sorry, I was getting tongue-tied there. This kind of stops your Union Exorb chain, so you don't really want to play this one out main. Kind of want to play out the other ones first. So the Super 17 to Further Heights is kind of the main one that you want. It has Deflect and Barrier, so it's going to be really, really hard to kill. And it's going to land on the field at some point. When this card comes in, you get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. Then for 4 energy, you can you take a cell from your drop area or your hand, place it on top, place it below this card, and then you add a Super 17 with a 6 cost from your deck or your drop area and play it on top of this card. So we have 2 different targets. We have Super 17 Total Eclipse, and we have the OG Super 17 Cell Absorb. This came out in set 5 with the rest of the cards, and then this came out in set 9. Both of these cards have very good effects. What I like about this card more than the cell, which I don't know if I have the cell over here. I do. So this cell is what a lot of people run in the cell decks. I don't run this because you have to play this card with Successor, and this Super 17 you do not have to play with Successor. And since we don't really want a Successor a lot of our Super 17 pieces out, I like that I can just use the Union Absorb to play this card out. It has Barrier, and when this card attacks or is removed from the battle area, you draw a card and you tap down one of your opponent's cards. So very similar to this card here, but you can do it. This card's going to do it a minimum of twice. At the minimum, when this card hits the field, you swing with it, it gets negated, you draw a card, you tap down a card. This card can only do it on its arrival. Still very good. You draw and you do that, but this card is going to do it a minimum of twice for this deck. So this is kind of the Super Saiyan Broly All Out Assault for Android. I just don't know why not a lot of people are playing it right now. But like I said, you can tap down cards, you swing with it. It does a very, very good job of just adding pressure. And the Cell Absorb has Deflect, so it's going to hit the field. And when this card swings, it has Dual Attack and Crit. And the Sparking Effect, which if you have 10 cards in your drop area, when this card swings, your opponent chooses 2 cards in their hand and places them in the drop area. So for a minimum 2 attacks, you're going to do 2 damage, which will be crit, and your opponent has to drop a minimum of 4 cards. Even if the attack's negated, you have to negate the skill, the auto, and they can't unless they kill it. So it's going to have that effect, which is super, super strong. Obviously, both of these are 20k, so Denial of Hope still hits them. They're both 6, so they're out of the way of hidden potential, things like that. Like I said, this one cannot be hit by counterplays. One can. Once this is on the field, it should be pretty good, unless they have one of the ignoring barrier cards. But these cards here are still very good. Now, if you see, 6 costs, 3 costs, we have a lot of other 3 costs in our deck. So we do run 1 Successor, and it is for the Super 17 Hellstorm Unleashed. This is our big boss monster. Has crit. Comes out for 9, so you can play it with one of the 3 drops and a 6 drop, or however you want to do it. But when this card comes out, it has two autos. One is incredibly strong. Your opponent crits down their life until they're at 4 life. So if your opponent's at 7 life or 6 life, they have to crit down that life to go down to 4. Then when this card swings, you draw the card, and your opponent has to you tap down 2 of your opponent's cards. So it's basically a super version of this card here. Does not have barrier, so it is kind of affected by that. But my primary target for the Successor on top of this is going to be this card here. I want to try to get this card out, start swinging, drawing cards, tapping down cards, and then try to put another 17 on the board, or just anything, even one of those. Sorry. Even you have that at the 3 drop. We have that counterplay as a 3 drop. We have that counterplay as a 3 drop. We have this that we can hard cast out for 3. So you have a lot of other 3 drops. You just need to get this on the field and this on the field, and you can, absorb into it. And then you kind of want to, I generally don't like to Successor this card away because it does apply so much pressure. But I have done it before. But with these 3 cards, you can kind of have a good mid-range ability to just kind of shut people down and make them just tap out. I'm sure there's going to be new cards in the draft box, yellow cards that I can put in here when tapping down cards. It makes it even stronger, but we'll see once we get there. For the extra cards, I run 2 of the Infernal Messenger, which is probably my favorite Android searcher card. For 1 energy, the leader's a green android. You can search the top 10 cards for 2 Android 17, 2 Hellfighter 17s, or 2 Super 17s. So choose 2. That's super good. Choose up to a total of 2. So if I find 1 Super 17 that I want and 1 Hellfighter 17, I pick those 2 cards. For 1 energy, you get 2 cards. I'm thinking about running 3 of these in the deck just because it's such a good card. You want to see this card like turn 2, kind of, or even turn 1 if you don't find the 15s, just to kind of pick out your cards and get ready for your Union Exorbs. We run 1 Artificial Impact just in case we are playing against somebody who has a really strong barrier card, like I don't know, U7. We only run 1. I have like 8 of these. I would probably run a total of 3, maybe 2 for the sideboard. We run 1 Flash Bomber just for some extra push power. If I can combine it with the Vile Creator Android 20, get a double strike crit on the board, I'll do that. And we run 3 Shocking Death Balls because it is a green negate and it has a sparking ability, which we're gonna fill up our sparking requirement very, very early in the game. So it has its effects there. And that is my Super 17 deck. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. There will be a deck listing below so you guys can check it out for yourselves and check out the cards. Let me know down in the comments if there's any recommendations you'd like to make to this deck. Give me some ideas. Let's start a discussion down below. Let me know what you guys think of the video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.